Players Lounge. We are the hit players.
We're
You
a
are
lounge
also
now.
a hit player. As I continue to fiddle with my mic stand on camera because I don't am bothered to actually mess with it. I think it came loose.
We have a new setup.
Yeah, we're still. This is a work in progress.
Yeah.
So
We moved from the table behind us to the couch in front of us.
we were trying to go for comfort
it.
over professionalism, and yeah, so far it's not working out very well. But we'll get there. We'll get there. The first couple setups on the desk were rough. Anyways, besides the point, we're not here for that. We're not here to talk about our living room. We are here, the new episode, to talk about TV. Specifically the
art?
the evolution
Yeah.
of TV, how it's evolved over the years and where we think it's going. I know I have a lot to say about where I think of TV is going. And there are lots and lots of things about modern television that I do not particularly like. But before we begin there, James, your stance on television as a use of
As a medium.
art. Yeah. That's it.
It's pretty fun, I'd say. I am the second opinion on this episode. He watches way more TV than I do.
This is my
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor episode.
I really enjoyed television for a very long time because I enjoyed cartoons. Is what I really enjoyed watching.
Yeah.
A lot of animated TV shows, a lot of anime in general. I haven't watched television since probably 2016.
Jeez. What was the last thing you watched?
The last TV show I watched?
Yeah.
Like in full or just like in general?
Both.
I think I caught up on Attack on Titan back in like 2020.
Oh, so you haven't like actually caught up.
So I haven't watched the current season. I wanted to get caught up to the fourth season, and then fourth season came out, and I was like, I don't care to watch it anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think one of the last shows I ever
We'll
watched
get
in
there.
full was the British show Peep Show, which is a really funny comedy series from Britland. You know how they are
Shout
with
out
their
shout out to our fellow Brits.
6 episodes a season.
across
Appreciate
the
you
pond.
guys.
Hour and a half, hour 45 an
Yep.
episode. We appreciate y'all.
Outside of that, though, I honestly haven't really watched much television since. I will say this. I was watching TV back when it felt like it was important, back when Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead in its first few seasons and Game of Thrones, those three were clashing in the middle of pop culture, it felt like. That's when I was watching TV.
Great era, by the way.
Yeah. The only era I was involved in, arguably the best.
Arguably, I don't want to say the last good era because we could have one in like 6 years, but where we are in television right now is a step down, to say the least. It's still good quality television, very good quality television. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, we had our Emmys pod and we talked. I talked at length about a lot of shows.
Yes, you did.
So obviously, good stuff to watch. But in terms of like, because the thing about television, and it has been this way for the past 30 years, more so in the last, especially in the 2010s, is like, it is the culture.
Yeah.
You know,
It
like the way
felt-
people were like, Drake is the culture, Kendrick's the culture. Like television in 2010 was the culture.
Yeah. In the 2010s.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt like that way. For sure.
Because it was like, you go like Monday morning, you're going to school, and everybody's talking about, oh, did you see Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Did you see the such and such?
Yeah.
There's like 7 shows that people were talking about, and it was like, people actually cared about it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're like, hey, have you seen so and so? And everybody's like, yeah, I'll get to it.
It
Or,
also
yeah, I saw it, but I only watched it because I was bored. It's okay.
it also felt like that era spawned when people started using the internet to talk about it more often.
Yeah.
That's when I started seeing a lot of the
That's when we saw
YouTubers,
Twitter.
specific YouTube channels dedicated to just talking about
Twitter
TV
sphere.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It was
And then Breaking Bad ended. Game of Thrones and Walking Dead with the shit, and we were left with nothing for a while.
Yeah.
Some
At least
shows-
that captures the.
yeah.
Because even now you're like, you know, I don't know anybody that watches Better Call Saul. I know like 2 people that watch Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
I know.
Even though it's the greatest thing on television.
I've put like one other guy, our friend Brendan, who watched it when he stayed with us, or
Nice.
my friend Brendan. I guess he's kind of.
Yeah, I knew him.
You guys
Yeah,
are
you're
friends. Yeah, we'll say you're friends.
He's probably not even watching this.
He likes to mingle in our episodes.
Yeah.
He'll like come in and out. But I put him on Succession, and he's like the only other person I know that watches Succession. So it's like there's just so much content nowadays that it's kind of hard to stay on top of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why my least favorite thing that anybody ever says about film or television is like, "Oh, you haven't watched such and such?" Like, are you even really a film major? It's like, guess what, bro? 100 movies come out, 400 movies come out every year. There's 100 TV shows. I can't keep on track of them all. I'm not watching Westworld. I'm not watching Euphoria. I'm not watching Girls. I'm not watching Star Wars Episode 9. I'm not watching Ant-Man crawl up Thanos' body.
I think you're confusing Avengers with The Boys for a second there.
I'm not doing any of that, all right? I'm watching what I want to watch and enjoy, and that's it. To get over it.
I feel like the streaming wars have really divided people's attention to the. I don't want to say attention, but I think the streaming wars helped people because it became a lot more compartmentalized.
Yeah.
It was, because on cable, everyone basically owns AMC if you have cable, so anyone can go watch Breaking Bad or
Mad
Men or
Walking
Walking Dead. But now it's like, oh, have you guys seen this amazing show on Apple Plus? And it's like, I don't get that channel. I don't own that.
I'm
You
going to
know?
pay another $6
Yeah.
on top of the $80 I already paid.
Yeah.
For
Can you
cable.
even, like, sure, you're probably going to pirate it anyway.
No.
People would do that
We
for
don't
Game of Thrones.
We don't
but
support piracy on this podcast.
You didn't own HBO.
We don't support piracy on
People
this
would buy HBO just to watch Game of Thrones. And now it's like, what's the point of buying Apple Plus to watch, what's the show, Severance, when it's like,
Yeah.
I already pay for all these other streaming services anyway. I don't know. I feel like that it's kind of the opportunity cost for watching good television has been skewed a little bit by this need for not only the need for everyone to own every streaming service, but for every network to make their own streaming service.
Yeah, because we'll get there.
Yeah.
We're kind of jumping ahead of the gun.
We're going all over the place. This is a
But to
free
give this episode
association.
some structure, we literally brainstormed the structure of this
Yeah.
podcast like 5 minutes before we hit record, and now we're just kind of everywhere.
Not doing it.
All right, so we'll get to the modern era in a couple
Yeah.
of seconds, probably like an hour. But let's start in the beginning,
Mhm.
from the very, very fundamental of television show. What is the point of television, in your opinion?
In my opinion,
Or just like, what do you think
no, I'll answer in my
makes
opinion.
a television show? Like, why can't
Necessary?
television show be
Yeah.
a movie? Right?
In my opinion, I say as I drop my water
Nice.
bottle on the
Yeah, we
mic.
need cup holders.
We
for
need
this
cup holders
stupid
on this couch. It's serialized storytelling,
Sure.
I think, is the
Okay.
biggest advantage of television over movies. Because in a movie, you get a nice story and like maybe, hopefully no more than 3 hours. 1.5, 2 hours. You got a beginning, a middle, an end. It's the only time you see those characters. You don't have to go back. You don't have to revisit that story. They're done. With television, though, it has the opportunity of you can return to these characters now more often. And your story can have more elements to it. You can go in depth into certain subplots in a far greater detail than you could if you were just limited to an hour and a half. That's just kind of the necessary, that little niche is where television, I think, supersedes movies. Because obviously with movies, you can have sequels and prequels and franchises and universes. With a television show, you can just say, hey, these 5 characters, they live in the same apartment complex, and here's 26 seasons of their lives. And now people have like parasocial relationship with these characters, like they're real people, you know? So that's probably, in my opinion, the necessary, that's where TV comes in. That's why it's necessary, I think. What about you? What makes good TV in your opinion?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. And I think more than anything, I think TV is also a great social commentary. It's a good time capsule of sorts. Obviously, we have great movies that, we'll talk about the modern era or the era that we live in. But I feel like TV, because we have characters that kind of live in a bubble per se, when they have to interact with like stuff that happens in the real world, it's interesting, and it's an interesting look back. Like I think of Shameless and how Shameless isn't the only one, but how they leaned into the pandemic for like a season or two, where they like everybody was wearing masks on screen. Like COVID was affecting the bar that they go to, stuff like that. It's like that's interesting because we can get a movie about the times during COVID, but what makes this more impactful is that these characters that we've known and grown and seen over the years, we're seeing how they react to it in real time, and we're like, oh shit, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing characters in new situations.
There's definitely more of an immediacy to television over film.
And even for like stuff, like silly stuff like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like half of season 3 is just her figuring out if she's going to go to college or not. And it's like, I can relate to that because I didn't know if I was going to go to college or not.
College at one point in your life, too.
And I'm also a Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can see that thing of like, it's not like, can I actually go to college, and like the struggles of trying to adjust to a post high school life is like, oh, that like this is cool because we saw her grow for 2 years, and then we're like, oh shit, here's this wrench in her plans. What's gonna happen? And so that's where I think like you said, the long form, sometimes too long.
Do you prefer a TV show that is much more immediate about maybe not just its social commentary but just its production, or do you prefer shows that kind of take their time in between? Like I think Game of Thrones started the whole like 2 years, 3 years between seasons stuff like that. With the most extreme, of course, being South Park, which is an episode is made a week.
Or Futurama going on like what was it, like an 8-year hiatus?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good. I mean, I don't. My thing is, if you're gonna make us wait, make it good, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's so simple to say.
Yeah.
But it's like we just watched
impossible.
Game of Thrones butcher this in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
For like 5 years straight.
Pretty much.
So it's like Better Call Saul. I think we waited a year and a half. We waited a year and a half. And it was like, but it's really, really good. So it's like, okay, this is worth the payoff. I personally I'm not really strong. Like everybody, when everybody found out Euphoria is not coming back till 2024, everybody was like, oh my God, 2024, you're going to make us wait 2 years? So you guys waited 12 years for Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Relax, okay?
Pretty much.
It's not, I don't know. I don't find, and plus there's so much content nowadays that I feel like the break is needed. Like I enjoy, I try to watch at least like 2 or 3 new series a year, or at least like a season of a series a year. So it's nice to have like Succession's probably gonna go on a 4-year break at this rate. So I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, well I can watch, Westworld. Or I can, catch up on my Seinfeld that I'm currently going through, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't particularly care either way about breaks and stuff like that. It doesn't.
No, that's fair.
It doesn't matter to me, as long as it's good television.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What does infuriate me? Infuriate.
What makes you angry?
What makes me upset? It's been a long day. Is when we have those stupid mid-season breaks. Walking Dead did this. Every show has ever done this. It's so dumb. Either just call it a new season and just push it back a whole year, or just condense it all in once. Don't make me wait 13 weeks for another 13 episodes when I can get 26 straight. Just do that. Like Better Call Saul is doing this, or did this, when it was like, you may as well wait 2 months. I couldn't wait 2 more months to just get it all at once. It drives me crazy. Ozark did the same thing. Stranger Things did the same thing, which is so stupid. It's like, what's the point? And I get the point is to like
Finish production on the last few episodes.
well, that too, but also it's like, well, if that were the case, then just I'm
delay
saying
the whole season.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But what it is they want to capture
Hype.
They want to capture the hype at the same time, right?
What's the one quote about Mario? It's like a delayed game is better than a bad game. Like a good game that's delayed is better than a bad game released on
A
time.
good game, a delayed game will eventually be good. A bad game or a rushed game is always bad.
Yeah,
or
something like that.
Something stupid like that. Our games is gonna have a field day with that. We just completely butchered that quote. Yeah, but it's silly.
Yeah. Now, do you have any outside of mid-season breaks? What elements of a TV show, either content-wise, but more specifically, externally, structurally about the show, do you look for? I'll start with one that I like is if you have any more than 13 episodes in the season, I will hesitate.
Yeah,
I've always been that way.
Especially if you're hour long.
That's most the reason why I just like I've almost only watched like British TV shows is because it's like 6 episodes a season. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Only 2 seasons, even better.
Yeah, because the problem with that is you don't like you run into the anime style of writing where you're just writing just to write.
Yeah.
Like for
filler.
sitcoms, that works because that's the whole point of that's the thing about sitcoms, right?
Yeah.
It's just situational
Jokes.
comedy. Let's just throw our characters in these like let's have George Costanza wear a wedding ring to a freaking marathon, and let's just see what happens there. But for dramas, it's like, do I need 5 episodes of Rick walking around the woods, chasing after his dead wife's ghost?
Girl.
Not really. And people are always
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's character development, and this and that." It's like it's not. Like if you want good character development, go watch The Fly. Actually, Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
That's character development. Character development is not just walking around
Yeah.
doing.
I saw
nothing.
that there was something somebody said about
Silly.
The Walking Dead about how sometimes shows that go on for too long, at least dramatic TV, they have fallen into this mistake where they mistake watching characters think as being equivalent to thoughtful television.
Yeah.
Or if a character just stands there and as you're watching it, you know that they're thinking to themselves, but you're not letting in what they're thinking about or how it's like affecting them in any way.
Mm-hmm.
You just watch them think. Walking Dead did that all the time. It's terrible for that.
And that's why
reason.
shows like Breaking Bad and Mad Men were so heavily revered, is because characters would sit there and think, but there would be some kind of physical metaphor either in that scene or like in a company scene, right?
Yeah.
Like the pilot, greatest example is when he's burning the matches, and you're just like, this is art. Because the whole premise of Breaking Bad is watching this guy change, and we're watching this
an actual chemical reaction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in front of our eyes, and people will roll their eyes and be like, "Oh, that's you're English teaching it." No, that is the literal interpretation of the scene
On the TV show
from Vince Gilligan himself.
what was it called? Was it Delta Force? There was a TV show called Delta Force, I think. David Mamet, who was the showrunner for that, he told all the writers, always pay attention to what your characters are physically doing.
Yeah.
Like make sure that they are like physically doing something. Even if they're just talking, make sure they're fiddling with something or looking over a document. Just they have to physically do something. Just don't have them sit or stand there and stare.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem.
Good writing advice right there.
Television.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what about internally content-wise? Somebody says, hey, you got to check out this TV show. It's a sitcom. It's a drama. It's half an hour. It's an hour long. It's streaming, so it's an hour and a half long. What makes you go, this is going to be worth my time and not?
I don't know, man. Honestly, it's like, I'll just say right now, anything that has a Netflix logo on it, I will not watch. I've just been burned so many times by Netflix at this point that I just don't care.
Fair enough.
I don't really have like
It's probably a bad question.
Specific genre per se, or like,
yeah.
like the reason I watch Succession, and I'm only using Succession and Breaking Better Call Saul so much, is because those are the two recent TV shows I finished. So I apologize if I'm annoying people, but the only reason I watched it was because everybody was like, "Oh, you gotta watch Succession. You gotta watch Succession. This is the greatest show out right now. It's won awards. It's won this. It's got great acting. Boom, boom, boom. It's written by Aaron, or is it Aaron Sorkin? Yeah, Sorkin. It's Sorkin. It's McKay. It's it's all these big names that you like." I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll check it out." So I think that is mostly it. But then I watch stuff like, What We Do in the Shadows, just because it looks silly.
Yeah.
And it looks like an interesting premise.
Yeah, I think I asked a bad question. I think the better question is, do you tend to judge a show based off of what you feel like it's trying to achieve, or do you feel like you have a more internal, like, I don't like content like this, or I don't like a joke like that, or I don't like, a setup like this? Yeah, I remember I was asked to watch I watched Riverdale, the first episode of Riverdale.
I feel bad.
And I got like halfway through it, and I was like, this wasn't for me to begin with, but now it's getting into like, this content isn't for me. Like I'm opposed on principle to this TV show at this point. I will not continue watching it.
Yeah,
but that's like, for what teen dramas try to do, I was judging it based off of, this is too similar to what I expect from a teen drama.
Yeah.
Nothing about this is exciting or interesting. And I'm glad I jumped shipped early, because I never got to learn about the epic highs and lows of high school football.
I was going to say, yeah, you never got the highs and lows. And you can always just tell when a show is
phoned in.
Bad.
A cash grab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these streaming services, and I won't throw just Netflix under the bus, even though they're the biggest culprit probably, but like a lot of these streaming services, it feels like they just put out content. And we've talked about this before, so I won't go too into depth, but it's like, if we're going to have 1 million TV shows coming out every month, can we at least put some kind of effort behind this? Like, there's a new Tales from the Walking Dead, which is going to take place in that universe. Just from the trailer and the audio mix, I can tell this is going to be the worst show on AMC.
I mean, do you remember during the Super Bowl, there was the ad for Amazon's Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, this looks like trash.
Yeah.
And then you go online and everyone was like, this looks like trash.
Yeah. Or Halo.
Oh, God. Don't talk about that.
Or there's that show Moonhaven on AMC Plus, where I'm just like, I could have done this in iMovie. Like, there's a shot of a spaceship landing on the moon, and I'm like, this is like, is there no QA? Is there nothing where anybody is like, this is bad? we should make this at least somewhat respectable.
They didn't care whether it was good or bad. They cared if it was turned
I'm not
on
saying
time.
we need Terminator 2, Aliens, like
You don't have to innovate.
Avengers
have to
Endgame
deliver.
level of Iron Man level of CGI visual effects. I'm just saying, let's bare minimum Avatar.
Yeah.
Bare minimum, no, that's a bad example. Bare minimum, like Iron Man 3. I don't know. No Way Home. Can we get that at least?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
I think I judge shows based off of the kind of like both the genre, and I feel like I do that first, where I'm like, okay, if this is like a cop show or a Western or what have you, what are they adding to it? What are they trying to do that's new or interesting?
Sure.
Whether that is the actual story itself or the visuals of it. And then on top of that, I will then go, okay, what are my personal preferences? What kind of stuff do I like in TV shows, like the humor of it, what have you? Yeah. There are some shows that I have watched a lot of just because I actually kind of didn't get the humor. And I kept watching because I was like, I want to understand. I want to get this.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like that has deeply influenced my sense of humor now. Shout out to Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Shout out. We've shouted out that show so
We
many
shout out
times.
that show so many times. And then there are shows where I'm like, this is like the funniest thing I've ever seen, but it's also like probably one of the cheapest, least well produced shows I've ever seen before. But I think it's hilarious, so I'm gonna keep watching it.
Yeah.
Outside of that, though, I like TV because what I liked about watching it and what I got into a lot were the people behind it. And that to me was often something, especially in cartoons, because cartoons are often made from people who worked on previous cartoons.
Yeah.
And so there's always this really great lineage of the creators of these shows who worked on previous shows. You can go back and watch those and see their previous work. That's always really fun to do, in my opinion. And then you're like, oh, this person wrote this episode, and then they went on to make these shows, and you go watch the other episodes of the other show, and you like all those, and then you're watching a whole other TV show.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, C.H. Greenblatt wrote like the funniest episode of SpongeBob. No wonder he would go on to make something like Chowder, which is like one of the funniest Cartoon Network shows of all time. You know, stuff like that is always super fascinating to me. It's harder to do with live action TV shows, still possible. But
Shout out Vince Gilligan.
yeah, or like,
Shout out Chuck Lorre, even though I don't care for his shows.
or even Breaking Bad, for example. Some of the writers on that show had a blog, and they detailed like how they had approached writing certain episodes of it and kind of things that they were including, and how they were incorporating historical details. And I'm like, this is just like almost better than watching the show itself, my guy. This is so great.
Turns out writers are actually good at writing.
Who would have thunk it?
Who'd have thunk?
Well, Breaking Bad, Riverdale.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely
There's a gap in it.
That's another thing too, as a aspiring screenwriter. The thing that gets me excited about TV shows is it's just so much more impressive
Oh yeah,
when there's a well-crafted teleplay.
yeah.
Like, I mean, some of the greatest television I've ever watched are just the pilots, and you're like, this is. I mean, the Breaking Bad pilot might literally be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is probably the greatest pilot of all time.
You think so?
It is so well done. It's so rewatchable, and it just lays the foundation for the entire show so phenomenally well. And it has not aged poorly.
You know, a
at
show has
all.
not a good pilot is The Office.
Oh yeah,
The first
Wow.
episode of The Office is the
I'm
first
sure The
episode
Office
of
is a good
British
show.
The second episode of The Office, though, is probably one of the funniest things on television ever, which is the Diversity Day episode. Easily one of the funniest episodes of television I've ever seen. But no, I absolutely agree with you. The actual art and craft of writing 30 minutes of a cohesive and holistic story where everything
Yeah.
comes together at the end. Not just comes together, but then we'll build on for the next episode. And even in animation, they're only doing it in 11 minutes. But it's like, it's really fantastic.
And it's hard.
It's insanely
It's-
difficult.
hard to write good screenplays.
I remember, so we both took a class on writing
Shout out Mayday if you're
pilots.
If you're
And I remember the professor for that kept talking about sitcoms and how the standard is you have 4 jokes a page. And he talked about it in a way that I felt like he was challenging the students to write a sitcom, and
nobody
wrote it. It is so difficult to think
I
of.
mean, comedy is one of the hardest
Yeah.
things. Like people, like I remember being asked all the time when I was making short films and stuff. Like, how come you don't make something funny? It's like they're like, oh, you're you make us laugh. You're funny. It's like, dude, comedy
No.
is hard.
Yeah.
Like it is the hardest. That's why all these great comedic actors they turn out to be great dramatic actors. It's because
They're actually all like super serious
it's
people.
so hard
Yeah.
to do.
And it's so funny where like almost every professional screenwriter I've ever talked to or heard speaking, they're almost not like creative people. They're like scientists.
Yeah.
Like the way that writers will approach writing a screenplay is almost more like they're trying to solve a problem rather than just be creative. Not say that creativity
I mean,
isn't
go
a part
listen
of
to
it.
Adam Sorkin talk.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He talks like a Nobel Peace Laureate and not, or Nobel Prize laureate and not
Yeah.
even like a, someone you room with in
Yeah.
freshman year.
I got that advice. One of the writers on Breaking Bad, on his blog, he was talking about that, where he was like, professional screenwriting is like 80% problem solving.
Yeah.
And then maybe like 20% your own creativity.
And the thing is people are like, the thing that I don't think people understand, and I think we're getting a little off track here, but this is a good point.
We like talking about writing. Get
People
over it.
are always like, yeah, this should just be a writing seminar.
Yeah.
We should just start a writing podcast. But people are always like, oh, I'm creative. You know, I do like Wattpads and fan fiction. Like I can try and write a screenplay. I'm sure you knew many people. I for certainly knew many people. We knew. I mean, we could probably. I don't want to name any names out there, but we know a couple mutual people that thought they could be writers, and we were like, both of us were literally like walk out of class and be like,
Yeah.
that sucked. But the thing that they don't understand is it's not like, yeah, it's creativity, because obviously everything comes, the writer is the blueprint, the architect for everything, especially in television, for everything. But it's also a job.
Yeah.
Like you have to work at it. Like it's not something you just pick up one day and you're just like, oh, it's not like fishing, right?
It's actually like a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, it's like you have to sit there, you have to write every day, at least like, you know, I used to try and write 5 pages a day, and even that it's a struggle. It really is a struggle, because it's beyond the creativity, it's the motivation to be like, my fingers hurt. I don't want to be at this desk anymore. I want to do something that's actually fun and interesting. Like, not that writing's not fun or interesting, but it's like I just want to do something else right now. And it's like I'm
Not
only
look at
2
a
hours
screen.
in and I'm 3 pages. Like, what am I doing with my
Yeah.
life? You have to be extremely disciplined to do
Yeah.
it, which is why I will always
Admire.
when people are like, writers never have any power. Writers aren't really, you know, they're not anything important. I'm like, you are dumb, because like when you tell me that, I immediately know you know nothing about entertainment, because writing is one of the hardest things. I mean, entertainment's hard in general, but writing is literally like difficult.
There's so many different ways to go about it too, that to make it your job, you're in a way pinning yourself into having to find your own system of doing it. And that's why writing advice is usually not very good to take, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I remember Aaron Sorkin was asked, I think it was the movie Moneyball, maybe. He was asked, how long did it take you to write the screenplay? And he was like, maybe about 2 weeks. I'm like, really? He was like, well, I thought about it for 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, literally, me right now, I'll write something on my whiteboard and just look at it for 6 months.
Yeah.
I will not write a single word in final draft, just because I'm like, how would I do it?
Yeah. Really.
I mean, if any advice, we'll stop our writing seminar after this, but if any advice we could give, I would say just write.
Write every day.
Just put words on a page. Don't even care if it's good. Like, you know, the first draft is supposed to be your worst draft, and it's only supposed to get better after that. You just put words on a page. Even if it doesn't make sense, just put words on a page, and it'll all connect eventually. But anyways.
We'll do a whole separate podcast on writing advice, because that one will be 5 hours long. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we could do a whole film advice thing. First rule, don't go to film school.
I mean, speaking of Aaron Sorkin, he started writing plays, but The West Wing, from then on out, I think really took off his Hollywood career.
Oh, yeah.
And his impact on television is really interesting, because he pioneered, I think, I almost want to say the single camera comedy in a weird way.
More or less.
I have a theory behind that, because one of the techniques that Aaron Sorkin used was called a walk and talk, which was he wrote so much dialogue that characters would be talking going in and out of the scenes. So they were like, well, we'll just put the camera on a steady cam and then follow them walking between locations. And that, I think, was then adopted by comedy shows to say, let's just follow the characters walking around.
That's literally the entire Office.
And it started with an HBO show called Larry Sanders Show, which he went to them and he was like, I want to do that, but it's going to be funny. And HBO was like, that's impossible. And he was like,
it's going to be funny.
We'll do it. Literally. He said he pitched that to HBO and they were like, what? What do you mean?
That sounds like
It's a comedy film, like a drama?
Sounds like Aaron Sorkin, all right.
And
Oh, you're referring to Larry Sanders.
Yeah. And they were like, how do you even do that? But that's like how TV shows influence other TV shows. I don't think many people think about too often. Is there's also a lineage there as well.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of production, but in terms of just like,
especially within the last 30 years.
oh yeah,
Because you think like Sorkin and David Chase were fighting each other at the Emmys every year. But then what you don't realize is guys like Matthew Weiner were executive producers on said shows.
Mm-hmm.
And Matthew Weiner goes on to create Mad Men, which creates this modern era of the brooding, handsome anti-hero, quote-unquote anti-hero.
Walter White.
But then it's also like Vince Gilligan's main inspiration was The Sopranos. And that he's even said as much as like, if there was no Tony Soprano, there's no Walter White in television. So like, I think if anything, television inspires more other television than film. Because film, it's like, you'll hear about like how PTA is like, oh, Tarantino, he's one of my best friends. I watch all of his movies. I will never make a Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, if I look up to anybody, it's these guys who are 60 years older than me. It's not, whereas in television, it's like contemporaries actively being
influence.
Like, oh, I see what you're doing. I'm going to try and one-up you.
Now, it should be said, too, we actually shouldn't give all the credit to the creators. Because, my God, when a show like Lost comes out and every other network suddenly comes out with its own disaster drama series.
We're still getting those. Netflix just came out with one. Or ABC, I think.
Or medical, right? Everyone is still trying to capitalize on House.
Yeah.
Everyone is still trying to capitalize on freaking, I don't know, General Hospital, what have you. Grey's Anatomy. ER. It's like, when a show succeeds, everyone else wants a little bit in on it, but they can't get in on it, so they just recreate it. And that also drives, in a weird way, the way TV shows influence other TV shows. Because you could make the argument that, like, maybe without a show like The West Wing, which made a show about people working in an office interesting, you probably wouldn't get a show like The Office, or you certainly wouldn't get a show like Veep, for example, or Succession, even. There's this idea that, oh, people liked this, therefore we can do this now. People like shows about anti-heroes, we can do this now. Game of Thrones, people like gore and violence, we'll do that now too. Anthology series, people like American Horror Story. All right, I hope you like anthology series.
We're gonna get one every year, it seems like.
True Detectives, shout out to that show.
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. Yeah. Seriously. Is there a genre or style of television that you want to make a comeback, or you at least want to see done well again?
I wish we could have good sitcoms again.
Good sitcoms?
Yeah.
I wish we could have
revolutionary sitcoms
that weren't three people in an apartment. The Seinfeld style. Even though the show was funny, give it credit. I remember when John Mulaney came out with his sitcom show called Mulaney, and it was basically just sitcom with him. Or it was basically just Seinfeld with him. And it was like, and he was like, this is the show I want to make. But everyone was like, you just made Seinfeld, but less funny.
You made Seinfeld, but worse, my brother.
Yeah. Or just any like family TV show is still trying to just be Roseanne.
Yeah. Like, I wish we did something new.
With the sitcom format?
Yeah. I don't know what said new is, so I'm not going to sit here and like shout from the mountaintop. But
yeah,
like, I'm watching Seinfeld, I'm watching Friends, I'm watching, I can't even think of another sitcom.
George Lopez?
No, not George Lopez. Fuck George Lopez. I'm just like, man, these shows are like funny.
Yeah.
And they're good. Like there's good drama in said sitcoms.
Yeah.
Why can't we do that anymore? Why does it always have to be like, oh, the wife caught me out with another girl, and oh, my kid might be pregnant, and oh, this and that. And it's like, let's do something Do something different.
What Seinfeld did really well that I don't think a lot of shows have capitalized on since is that almost all the drama in the show was just stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Just misunderstandings. Just faux pas.
I mean, isn't Larry David, his whole comedy is just let's put our characters in the most absurd situations possible and just go off of that.
It's really more so like, let's take the most absurd characters, the most narcissistic, selfish, self-centered people, and put them in a single moment where they have to be kind to another
Larry
person.
David himself.
See if they can do it. If they can't do it, there's your plot. Pretty much.
Says a lot about Larry David.
Seinfeld also did something really cool where they had entire episodes that were just set in a single location.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole, what is it, the bottle ship episode?
Yeah, the bottle
Episode,
episode.
which, you know,
Super fun.
everybody hates. But
Bo Jackson.
I love it.
Bo Jackson, Horseman, does that well too. They have a few of those.
Yeah.
He has an entire episode where he just is giving a eulogy at a funeral. It's actually pretty well done, in my opinion. That's just completely besides the point. I know more about the animation side of the TV industry than I do about the live.
Is there a trend in television that you are alarmed by? Because I have a big one, and we've talked about it before, but I want to see if
that
you have
I
one.
am alarmed by.
Yeah, that you see being not
Problematic in the
necessarily
future.
bad, but yeah, it's like it just
So I can think of maybe two. I think the first might be, and this more so applies to a lot of mini-series and anthology series, but it seems like a lot of shows aren't taking new actors. I feel like I see a lot more
that's a good one.
just professional established actors, movie actors,
Yeah, that's a good one.
rather than just a show where I've never heard of these people before. I feel like it's hard to say that used to be the case because we've seen all those shows and now we know all those people.
Yeah.
But at one point in time, they were either unknown or they had only been in like one or two things previously.
Yeah.
The only reason that worries me is because
Well, like John Hamm. That was John Hamm's. That was his first acting role.
he did a great job.
He was gonna quit acting
Yeah.
before he got that role.
And so it's like, the reason that it alarms me is because I feel like TV and film are becoming almost too close bedfellows.
Yeah.
There's not enough separation between those two industries. A lot of that is film going on streaming services and basically getting commercials and being televised, and TV taking advantage of streaming, telling longer episodes, more like dramatic stories, more cinematic approach to actually how they're filmed. I feel like if you're gonna emulate cable TV, you're just gonna do an hour-long drama or a half-hour-long comedy. Just I don't know. It's hard to say take the risk and hire someone different or new, but I would like to see more shows with people I've never heard of before.
Yeah, because I mean, think of all of the great roles in the history of not only television but movies. Like a lot of those great roles that we think of were first-time hires. I mean, the first one that pops into my mind, Al Pacino in Godfather.
Yeah, I was thinking about Pacino.
De Niro in Mean Streets. Like, without these people taking these creative or these risks, we don't have these great pioneers. And I'm talking both behind and in front of the screen.
Yeah.
It's just easier to put names to faces with on-screen talent. But I mean, even like Bryan Cranston, he wasn't. I mean, everybody knew him as the dad from Malcolm in the Middle, but he wasn't a household name, I would say, until Breaking Bad, and now he's in a movie every year.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
it was a good movie every year.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Paul was gonna get killed off because they just didn't see any reason for Aaron Paul to be. I mean, A, he wasn't a big actor at the time.
Yeah.
And B, so I guess the role was written to be killed off, but
yeah.
And then we got a great performance and character arc out of that.
For sure.
I mean, and even like my favorite example, Friday Night Lights. Look how many big names came out of Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Kyle
true.
Chandler,
Michael
Connie
B.
Britton,
Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan.
Who was the guy who was in
Landry.
Power of the Dog?
Yeah. Jesse Plemons.
That's his name. Yeah. He was in it.
Freaking Minka Kelly. Shout out Minka Kelly. Even though she's not big, shout out to her. Taylor Kitsch is starting to have us like a third career at this point. Think of all the names that came out of that. That show.
And those guys were young too when
Yeah.
they did it too. They were like in their 20s, like late teens.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So it's like we can have,
yeah.
It's always nice to see new talent enter the fray.
Probably a bad discussion to have when Jeanette McCurdy is going on about
Nickelodeon.
the absolute horrors of working at Nickelodeon
The creator.
as a child actor.
The creator.
The effects of
Man,
the
I wonder
creator.
who she's talking about
But
on that one.
I support Jeanette McCurdy. I've always enjoyed her work.
I don't think
also
anybody
outside
is
of Nickelodeon.
anti.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is anti her. They're anti the fact that her book is celebrating her mom being dying. But that's a good thing because she was abusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the whole
We
story.
support her.
But sure.
As
If
far
that's
as
the
I've
case,
read,
I don't
it was not a good
read.
time.
No, I did see that article on the Rolling Stone.
Yeah, we're not going
It
to talk
was,
about
it was
Nickelodeon though.
depressing.
And the
Depressing to
mess
say the least.
Yeah.
Anyways,
the creator.
I'll say my least favorite trend,
That
and
alarms you.
you've touched on it. Shows are becoming like movies,
Mm.
and I don't like it.
Do you mean that in terms of the content or the actual like cinematic quality to them, like how they're
The content.
Film?
I don't. The
content?
cinematic quality. I will.
TV
always,
shows having a focus puller on set? That's a good thing. We like that trend.
You guys are actually willing to pay for craft services
Yeah.
and catering. Good. We like that. But no, the actual content. Because now, like, it just feels like shows are being made to write a narrative per season without the actual thinking of what is the overarching theme and arc that we want our characters to live through. Right? Like, Sopranos. This is the first time I've mentioned Sopranos. Shout out to me. But the whole thing about the Sopranos is it's this mob boss. He's going through mental problems. He's trying to juggle two lives. And the whole thing is like the secrets that he holds, the family issues that he has, both family and family, and like how that evolves or affects him and affects his relationships with people around him, and just seeing how people in the world change, right? And how he reacts to that, which is why it makes it one of the greatest shows of all time. Because that is such a simplistic, when you explain it like that, it is so simplistic, and yet what the beauty of that show is the layering of it, right?
That I think is where I think some modern TV shows, and this has probably been an issue all throughout the history of TV shows, but the franchise of your show cannot actually be a plot or an event. It has to be a character that you have to explore over time.
Because my counterpoint, or my point to what I was saying originally, Stranger Things. It was a show that involved a girl on the run, secret project, and it was a boy is missing. Sounds like a good movie. Sounds like a good miniseries. But then we got 4 seasons out of it, and it's like, where do we go?
Yeah.
Right? Like, even more recent example, The Bear on Hulu. Phenomenal show. Loved it. It was a great 8 hours that I watched. Great acting. Great camera work. One of the episodes is just one shot for 20 minutes.
Nice.
It's great. It's got good story. It's very feel good. Not very funny, so don't think it's a comedy.
It's a drama.
It's a comedy for some people, or they market it as a comedy. It's not a comedy.
Yeah. It's comedy for people who've never worked in the restaurant industry.
Yeah,
that's for
yeah,
sure.
precisely. But they wrapped it up at the end of season 1, and I was just depressed because not depressed. I was sad because I was like, this show's gonna go to shit in season 2.
Yeah.
I can already see it.
You think so?
Because it's like every problem that we laid out is just already solved. Like, I'm not gonna go into spoilers because it's a good show and I think everybody should watch it. Like Mad Men, right? Another great show with a simple premise: a guy in advertising evolving in a world where advertising is no longer seen, or at least his version of advertising is becoming obsolete.
Yeah.
How does he adapt? How does he react to this? And how does that affect the relationships around him? It's not, we're going on a quest to find a dragon and kill it. Now what happens when we kill the dragon? Because then what happens is you start running into the sitcom problem of, well, we need to create tension out of something. We've been going on the air for too long.
Yeah.
Now we're just going to start messing with our characters, which is the main thing about television is the characters.
You jump the shark.
I mean, House.
Yeah.
When they put him in the mental asylum, it's like, there goes your whole show.
Or The Office when Michael Scott left.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the character everybody liked.
That was the one thing holding everyone together was Michael Scott, and it's over.
Yep. Should have ended it there.
So it's like, where are these shows going? Per se.
It's the balance between they want their show to last as long as possible because then they can get what's it called?
I mean, it's just money.
It's just the money.
It's really just money.
There's syndication. They get syndication out of it. But they also want to tell good stories with interesting characters. Now, personally, on a completely personal note, I appreciate brevity. I appreciate having a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yep.
And I said before that if your show is more than 13 episodes a season, I'll hesitate to watch it. If your show is more than maybe 4 seasons, I will almost certainly not watch it.
You better be on IMDb's top 10 list.
You better be completely worth it to watch all of those. And every single one of those seasons better be worth it.
At least a 9 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah,
I'm not
seriously.
bothering.
So that's just me personally, where I'm like, I like having that beginning, middle, and end. Breaking Bad is a fantastic example where you can tell they kind of, at the start, they were like, we'll do a story arc a season. And then maybe around season 2 or 3, they were probably like, okay, we can actually like, I don't know, not franchise the story, but like we have a story here. And this is what we have to focus on is this story, and it's going to end. And that's the end of the show. And I think when they realized that, whether that was built in to begin with from like the either the pilot or even before that in the Bible, but like once they knew that show was going to, if they knew how that character arc was going to end, they knew that was the end of the show. They couldn't do anything past that.
Yeah.
And I feel like some shows just fail to deliver on that. And that is something that I personally really like is when a show is like, this is the end of this character's story, therefore it is the end of the show. Goodbye, good night. You are not getting any more.
And I think that's the way to do it. If you're going to do the movie approach, I'm going to put quotation marks
absolutely.
Is let's have a couple seasons where we get to know the characters, we get to know the world, we get to see who they are as people. And then let's do that. Let's have a season where it's this happening. Like Euphoria would have, and we talked about this. I think I talked about this with you when I was pitching the episode, this episode. But I was like, Euphoria's problem was that it tried to become a movie too early.
Yeah.
Like if we had spent a season, maybe even a season and a half of just like, okay, we're going to follow Zendaya around for 2 episodes and see what she gets up to. Okay, then we're going to follow Sydney Sweeney around for 2 episodes. Then we're going to follow Matt Apatow.
Yeah.
We're going to follow the Australian guy. We're going to follow the black guy.
I think he's British.
Whatever
Is he
he is.
Australian?
I don't know. He's tall.
Yeah.
The tall
Nate.
guy.
Nate. Shout out to Nate.
Don't shout out Nate. What is wrong? I don't even watch the show and I know you don't shout out Nate.
Fair enough.
But it's like I feel like it would have benefited more from like a Skins type of construction.
Yeah.
Because even Skins, they did that, right? Like the first season is the first 8 episodes are literally just we're following a character in their day-to-day lives, and then the last 2 episodes it's like, oh, shit's hitting the fan.
Yeah. That's basically Lost too, where every episode is just a different character. And then at the end of the season, they're like, oh crap, we need a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and it works. I think that way of structure works beautifully. It's just the problem is these shows want to be seen. They want the jaw-dropping moments without the build-up.
Yeah, they want basically to deliver you an hour and a half of compelling story for 13 episodes or 10 episodes a season. And that's just honestly at that point that's That's too difficult to do, I think. You can do it with a movie. You can... It's just too much, I think. And it's difficult to do. One of my biggest issues with a lot of TV shows when I've tried to watch them is there are just... It gets to the point where I just feel like individual scenes are filler. Like, I don't...
Yeah.
If an entire episode is filler, maybe you need that. I'll just not enjoy watching it. But when I'm watching a scene and I'm like, I literally don't have to be watching this right now. This is included either to hit the runtime or to hit the runtime. There's no other reason. You have to do this. Just especially with streaming, you can relax yourself. Yeah. They're trying to go big. You can relax yourself. You can have an episode that's only 30 minutes if you only have 30 minutes of content to tell that story.
Yeah.
Like, Netflix isn't certainly not going to allow you to do that, but you should be able to do that.
Netflix is the big baddie.
Netflix is the big bad. They're big corp.
Yeah.
That's just for me a little personal gripe. And I've seen TV shows do that, and I appreciate that. If one episode is like an hour and a half, and then the next episode is like 49 minutes, I'm like, fair enough.
To me, that screams consistent storytelling.
Yeah, basically.
It's like we don't have to hit that 48-minute mark. We just make a story.
Yeah. Here's what is best for this episode. Yeah. We're going to do what's best for this episode. If that is...
Don't continue your statement, sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just talking in circles at this point.
But I will say a show that does that well, that changed, Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Because the first season, it's basically a procedural. It's 22 episodes that are all an hour long. And I think if you go on Netflix, it's like on the dot 47 minutes. And it's like, okay, you watch some of the episodes and you're like, okay, some of these are good, but like,
yeah, it doesn't
really get good. Like the pilot's good, the second episode's good, and then you can just basically skip until like the last 4. Because the rest is filler and like stuff that's not even brought up again. It's just there just for the sake of there. And what happened was season 2, they had the writer's strike. So it seemed like they were going to do that again. And then the writer's strike happened. They cut the season in half and it just kind of ends and it's a mess. And then where I think it really gets strong is season 3. Because season 3 onwards is like, I think it's like 10 episodes, 13 episodes.
Yeah.
Not only do you have shorter runtime, but you can have more concise storytelling, and we can have storytelling that actually matters.
Oh, yeah.
And season 3 of Friday Night Lights is, like, if we're ranking individual seasons of TV shows, season 3 is, like, at least top 6.
It's also a show that really benefits from being nothing but character-focused. Yeah. It has one plot. They win or lose a football game, and that's it. Everything else is just an hour and a half of characters.
Yeah.
And their development as people. And that's all you need. And that show proves it, I think. I will admit,
really good show.
I sat through a lot more of it than I should have just because I liked the way it was shot. And I liked the fact that a lot of it was improvised. But outside of that.
We should do a Friday Night Lights podcast. Or just an episode.
Maybe.
It is.
Maybe in the future. I
don't want to say underrated because I feel like a lot of people watched it when it premiered on air.
Yeah.
My mic is fucking up again. But it's up there.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you don't like football. I mean, you don't like football.
I don't even like football at all. I don't like high school football even less.
I will say this. The football scenes in that show are garbage, but it's a good show. I will say that much.
It has our recommendation.
You know when a non-football fan and a football fan
agree
can
on
both
it.
Trash it for opposite reasons, and yet we still
appreciate
like
it. Yeah, seriously.
That's how you know you have a good show.
On the flip side, what's a trend that you're seeing that you hope other shows adopt or you continue to see evolve? And I will say mine is shorter seasons. I've seen a lot of comedies, particularly out of FX, are doing 10 episodes a season. Yeah. And I'm like...
I like that too.
I like the 6 that British TV shows do, but I'll take 10.
I like that too.
That to me is probably one of the best trends that I think a lot of shows are adopting, are just allowing... In a weird way, it's almost more freeing because having less to work with, less space to work within, means that you have to push yourself to both be more creative, tell your stories more concisely, hit the marks that you're trying to aim for. You have to know for a fact that you think you're going to hit them.
Yeah.
Shows like What We Do in the Shadows, shows like Atlanta, even Always Sunny in Philadelphia has gone down to like 10 episodes a season.
Yeah.
I think those shows are still consistently good examples of how that is actually beneficial to storytelling, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What would you say is a trend that you see?
That's a good question. I didn't think about this question. I didn't think about this. It's not. So it's not something that I would say I like actively enjoy the benefits of this trend, but it's something that I can appreciate, and that is more niche television. Because if we're gonna make 400 shows a year from these 12 companies,
At least they're not the same show.
I'm not like, obviously all the cable networks are gonna have their own, or all networks, all the network stations are gonna have their own procedurals. They're all gonna have a doctor show. They're all gonna have a cop show, a firefighter show. But what I appreciate out of these streaming services is we're getting a lot of stuff like Atypical, right? Where it's a show about a kid with Asperger's, or I think it's Asperger's. I don't know if it's Asperger's, but he has autism. And he is starting to, basically he's like, I'm just going to start trying to live like a normal teenager. Like that's the whole premise of the show, is like,
Yeah.
I just want to be normal. He tells his parents, like, I just want to be normal. I'm going to regular school. Just treat me like a normal kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to deal with that. And so a show like that, I think, not even, I would even say like 10 years ago, it's probably not greenlit by any of these cable networks. Because it's like, and I hate to say it, it's like, who wants to watch a show about a kid with autism?
It's
right?
too niche
Right.
almost.
Yeah. It's a good show. It's a good watch. I don't put it in my top 10, but I enjoyed the seasons that I did watch. So I appreciate that. Or like stuff like, no, I'm trying to think. Trying to think of something
I
else.
caught you off guard.
Yeah. But like stuff like that, I think like Reservation Dogs.
Yeah, that's a good example.
A show that it's on a major cable network, cable channel, sorry.
Yeah.
And it's a show about kids, about Native Americans on or Native American teenagers growing up on a reservation, and what's that's like.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the show. I don't know if I really plan to, but the fact that it is on television and is bringing a more diverse, it's bringing diversity to the landscape. I can enjoy.
Yeah.
I like it.
I agree with that. Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. That's one trend. I probably had to think of something off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
If you gave me like an hour, I could probably name like 2 more.
No, don't worry about it. I didn't anticipate your question about what trend I didn't like, and I nicely answered that on the spot.
Good. All right, we paid each other back. All right.
Now, final question, at least for me.
Okay.
You watch a lot more streaming than I do.
I do, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but you know.
Where do you see the future of commercials?
I mean, they're eventually just gonna flash across my retina. Like there's just gonna be a little small,
Yeah.
like how NASCAR does it, where there's always a little ticker on the top right.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be in my eyeball. In terms of, like, what do you mean? Like in terms of
The fact
commercials
that-
on programming?
My biggest gripe with these streaming services is the fact that they all promised ad-free streaming, and now they're like, oh, we have all
we're
our
putting
subscribers.
streaming. Yeah.
We need more money out of them. Let's get ads.
I mean, streaming is just turning into cable now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
That's all it is. They're just, it eventually, like, I mean, Disney does the whole like Nat Geo, Hulu, Disney Plus bundle for like $20, and it's like you're just a cable channel at that point.
Pretty much.
Like that's all you are.
Pretty much. Or Discovery Plus and HBO Max.
I honestly, people always getting up in arms about commercials during like watching scripted television. It doesn't bother me.
I'll say this though,
because it's a good point to just take a bathroom break.
Yeah, I mean, also like a lot of the art of writing TV shows was built around ad breaks, and that was your act structure. And now when you remove that, it frees you up to not have to do that. But I feel like that actually kind of
because
shows
there's
suffer
no
from
structure
that.
in these shows anymore. Yeah,
some shows actually struggle now,
Yeah.
where they're like, okay, Act 1 is going to be episode 1, Act 2 is going to be episodes 2 through 4, and then Act 3 is going to be the last episode of the season.
That reminds me. Another thing I don't like about the modern trend is it feels like we're not getting a true pilot anymore.
Mm.
We're getting like
You're just getting
2 episode pilots, 3 episode pilots.
Yeah.
Because Netflix, I don't know if it's still true, but at least, you know, like a couple years ago, their whole thing was we're gonna buy your we're gonna shoot you a pilot, but we're also gonna buy 3 episodes. So, and it was like, if you bought the 3 episodes, obviously you're just gonna get the whole season.
Yeah.
Which is why Netflix has a million shows now that they cancel because they just end up buying seasons. So it feels like, with that in mind, when people go to business with Netflix, they're like, we don't necessarily have to write a pilot. We just write
3 episodes.
a 3 episode pilot.
Yeah.
Which also is in turn of like, you guys are turning into movies at that, because that's a 3-hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
yeah.
we're losing the art of screenwriting if that's the case.
We're losing the way we used to do it. I don't
Yeah.
think many people have evolved to what we are moving into right now, and we're in this weird limbo zone where it's like the people who still know how to write TV shows are trying to adapt to how to write them for streaming, and are finding that it's not a different skill set, but a lot of the things that they know work, suddenly they don't have anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel like few shows have really managed to. Ozark is probably a good example of a show that has managed to adapt. At least,
As the camera dies.
As the
I
camera
just charged
dies.
it.
hey, at least the Zoom mic
These
didn't. Die.
batteries are stupid, bro.
Some shows I feel like have, like they're good for streaming because they look like they were made for streaming services.
Yeah.
They are written like they were made for streaming services. That's fine. No ad breaks. They don't need them. You know, stuff like that. HBO does that all the time.
I was gonna say that's like
They're
they're the
MO.
masters of it.
Yeah. And even then, what's funny too is that in HBO shows, if you ever like really pay attention to the structure of how they're written like normal TV shows.
Yeah.
They just don't have ad breaks.
They
That's the
don't.
only difference. And I feel like so many shows on streaming just are like, oh, we don't have ad breaks. There goes all our plot structure. We don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
So, that's a trend that I would say I'm irritated by.
Also, just a thing I've noticed too is the pacing is off. Because you start with you have to have that opening, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that thing that's gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna tune in to watch this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's no. So for people who maybe don't understand, the way a television show is structured is it goes big open, small break, and then rising again, and then break, and then you start at the bottom again. You go up, break, up, break.
Right.
Now, because like you said, we don't have. We're going towards more.
Those breaks were separated by television or by
It's just
commercials.
like up. Okay, we hit the 6-minute mark. Then we're going into a lull, and it's the last 2 minutes
Up
all
again.
the way up, spike again.
Yeah.
And it's especially apparent in the middle of the season when nothing is happening, because the way they structure their seasons is the same way they structure their episodes, where it's, we have those first 2 banger episodes, and we have a big lull where nothing really happens. And then it's
the
like
ending.
the last 2 episodes, everything happens.
Yeah.
I mean, Stranger Things is, I hate mentioning it, but it's the easiest thing to pick on.
Understandable.
Which is sad because Netflix actually knows how to write television when they actually hire talent. I'm looking at you, House of Cards, season 1 through 4.
So I will. What was I going to say? I had a trend that I had seen that irritated me, but I don't remember what it was. It was just in my head too. Something to do with streaming services. I don't remember.
We don't
what it
like
was.
streaming services.
Well, no, it's.
No, we like streaming. We just don't like bad streamers.
I don't remember what it was, so we're gonna have to move on.
That's weird. That sucks. I talk too much. Sorry.
No, don't worry.
Um.
What was I gonna say?
All right, we're gonna do this.
Go.
If you were marooned on an island,
What
only
shows
take-
would you take?
it can only take 5 shows to download, or to take on a disc set, or whatever. What 5 shows are you taking? I have 4. I have 4 off the top of my head. I already know.
And I can take every season
Any
of the show.
genre.
Every
Yeah,
season.
you're
of
taking
it.
every
Okay.
season of said show.
Well, on a desert island, I'd take Survivor. No, Man versus
I'm
Wild.
taking Lost. I'm taking I'm taking all
Survivor,
I'm
man.
taking all the seasons of Crocodile Hunter.
Yeah. Man versus Wild.
Yeah.
So in terms
Oh,
of
wait, before we get to there,
Oh, yeah.
sorry.
no, go.
This just reminded me. I don't
Yeah.
know why Crocodile Hunter reminded me of this. Miniseries.
Miniseries.
Do we want to touch that topic? Do we want to save that? Because it's a completely different art form. We're at. I can pull up
I
my
think we're
time.
at like
Jeez,
an
it's already
hour and
7:00.
I think it's a completely different art form. It would have to save itself for another time.
We're at an hour.
We're
7.
an hour into it, so I'll say this. First at tops of my list, I'd say The Wire. I'd say Breaking Bad, even though it's a miniseries. Or no, I was gonna say Band of Brothers. It's a good one. So The Wire, Band of Brothers. You know, it's a miniseries. I would probably take to stay entertained. It would be between Curb Your Enthusiasm or The Larry Sanders Show. Those two shows are very similar in comedic style. I could go between either of them. I guess it just depends on what I felt.
Yeah.
So I guess that's 4 so far. Last one, I would probably pick something like, I don't know, maybe something just fun to watch. Like I'm thinking like Adventure Time, you know?
To cure your depression.
Yeah. And that would be
Being marooned on an island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we should probably take something like Survivor Man or Man versus Wild, you know? But we
Even
didn't
though
talk
Man
about
vs. Wild is
reality TV
completely
shows.
staged and not real at all.
So it's scripted. There we go. I'll take it.
Yeah, fair enough.
All
Fair
right.
enough.
What about you?
Well, I'm taking Sopranos, obviously.
Who would have thunk that? Whoa.
I'm taking. I said I had all 4, and now I'm forgetting all 4. I'm taking Sopranos. I'm taking. I think
Breaking
I would
Bad.
take Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, I would take Friday Night Lights.
Would you take either Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul?
That's a debate for a whole nother podcast. I don't know if. Here's the thing.
Strap in for another hour, people.
I don't know if I would take them.
Yeah, fair enough. They're good shows, but in terms of like
Because, like,
they're pretty concise.
well, not only that. I mean, they're phenomenal shows. They're top 2 shows of all time. Well, top 5, I guess, because we're counting 2 shows. But, like, in terms of rewatchability, the thing that always takes Breaking Bad down a level and to a degree Better Call Saul, and I'm gonna get a lot of. I can already see people are gonna get pissed. I don't see a lot of rewatchability because a lot of it is the tension, right? It's is he gonna get caught? How is he gonna get caught? This, that, and the other. Who's gonna die? And when you when you know the ending and how the evolution happens, to me, it just takes away a lot of it. Like I remember one of my friends was watching it for the first time, and when we were in college, and I watched the shootout with the twins, and it was completely different than how I remember that scene. Because I was just like, I knew what happened.
Yeah.
I know he grabs the bullet and it shoots the twins. So when that happened, I was like, this is still a really good show. And when I watched it the first time, it was, one of the great. It is one of the greatest achievements in television for sure. But it's like, I don't know if I haven't had the inclination to go rewatch it like I have The Sopranos or Mad Men or Friday Night Lights or Skins.
That's fair, I think. I'd say I feel similarly, at least about Breaking Bad.
Because like I'll watch the pilot for Breaking Bad every once in a while to be like, oh, I'll just I'll try and rewatch it again. Let's see the series, and I just don't have any desire to keep going, and I don't know what it is. I've tried it multiple times since it ended to rewatch it, but I can't get into it. I'll rewatch clips for sure.
Yeah.
But I won't. Like I just cannot sit down and force myself to watch the full length episodes.
That's fair enough, I think.
So I don't know if I would take it.
What else would you take?
was a long-winded answer to get nowhere.
Pick a cartoon. What
I
cartoon?
think I would take
you
Avatar.
Avatar.
Yeah, The Last
Nice.
Airbender. I think not the garbage live action movie.
Or the upcoming garbage live action.
Yeah, not that
Netflix
one.
show.
Did you hear that the creators got kicked off?
Did they? That's
Or they had
Interesting.
creative differences with Netflix, so now they're working on another Avatar project. That's
live
not-
action
I-
Legend
well,
of Korra.
So what I think they're gonna do, they're gonna do they're gonna animate the comics.
That's good. That's good. I've heard the comics are really good.
So, yeah, that was a little depressing when I read that.
All right, so you got 3 so far.
Number 4, I'm trying to think of all the TV shows I've watched.
Mad Men, first few seasons of Game of Thrones, Seinfeld.
I think I would take Seinfeld. Yeah, for sure.
Seinfeld.
The problem with Game of Thrones is the Breaking Bad thing, where we know how it ends, and
Fair enough.
Game of Thrones does not end well. So it's like, what's even the point of even?
I
bothering.
specified the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, not the entire show.
I think I would.
Sons of Anarchy.
I've heard it's pretty good.
My name's Earl.
Chuck.
Chuck.
I've worked with Chuck.
Psych. House. King of Queens.
I'm not really into procedurals.
King of the Hill. The Simpsons.
Maybe like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I can, yeah.
I think I would take Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Understandable.
Yeah, I think those
It's
are.
a long show.
I haven't finished it.
I haven't
For
finished.
all the reasons you were like, yeah, I don't watch it. Because, I mean, everything that you were like, it's longer than 4 seasons.
Yeah.
It's more than 13 episodes. It's over an hour. It's like,
Yeah.
that's exactly why I haven't even finished it.
Yeah.
I'm still
No.
in season 3.
I haven't even finished Friday Night Lights either. Almost for that reason. I'm like, there's just way too many seasons of this show.
You should finish it.
I
It's pretty
should.
good. It's good.
I feel the same way when people are like, when Supernatural was ending, I was like, you guys watched all of that?
Or like One Piece. I heard so many times that One Piece is one of the best animes. Yeah, but it's 1,000 episodes.
Okay.
I'm not watching 1,000. What is that? 500 hours.
So, as somebody who has watched 700 episodes of One Piece, my professional opinion, I personally am of the opinion, so there's a time break,
Yeah. There's a
maybe
time
about
s-
600 episodes in.
Time skip. No?
There's a time skip, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people prefer the time skip, the post time skip. I prefer the pre time skip.
Reddit loves the time skip.
They love the post
That's
time
the one
skip
thing I've
stuff.
heard.
For me, pre-time skip One Piece, some of the storytelling in that stuff is seriously like it blows a lot of American shows out of the water, and it's fantastic. But post-time skip, a lot more people prefer that, so I might be wrong, and I don't care because I'm not going to continue catching up. I saw 700 episodes. I've seen the good stuff, in my opinion. And it's all the Water 7 arc. So, yeah, there you go.
What does anime do better than American television?
What does anime do better than
Yeah.
American television?
I don't want to sit here and talk
Brevity.
about anime for an hour, but
Brevity.
let's
The fact that so many shows are just 13 episodes long, and that's the entire show. Neon Genesis Evangelion
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
is one of the Neon
I
Genesis
guess I'm thinking of like the
Evangelion
mainstream anime.
is one of the most widely regarded TV shows of all time, and it's 26 episodes, and that's the entire show.
Yeah.
And yet, from 26 episodes, Evangelion has gotten like
Yeah, I was
a
really
franchise.
surprised Death Note was 52. Or no,
Yeah.
it's not 52. It's short. It's less. It's like 40
It's
something.
like a weird number.
yeah.
yeah.
It's like 46 or something like that.
But for me, that's what anime as a genre does far better, is the fact that
Yeah.
it's like 26 episodes, that's your entire show, and it's like, it's either going to be the greatest thing you've ever seen, or it's just going to be 13 episodes that are okay, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For the big, long-running stuff, don't
Yeah.
bother
Yeah, I was
really.
thinking, yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
made that face when you said that. I was like, what? I was like, we were just talking
Brevity.
about One Piece being 1,000 episodes.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think it does more visually.
Well, because it's animated.
Right. Well, I'm saying just in terms of like visual metaphors and like
No, that's fair. I think
visual storytelling.
they take the animation more seriously
Yeah.
than a lot of Western
Yeah,
stories.
yeah. I
That's
think,
for sure.
I think they can do more. And I also, there is an art form to arc style writing that a lot of these long running animes
Do very
tend
well.
to do, and they do it very well.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, the one I'm gonna name, Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball.
It literally, people know them by the arcs, and like the arcs
Yeah.
are just iconic.
No, seriously. people will like. I have watched entire shows because people are like, dude, they have a tournament arc, 50 episodes in. You gotta watch it, and I'm like, hell yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho, I'll watch that.
But what's also even more impressive was when a show like Attack on Titan comes and it just every trope that is anime, in terms of the structure at least, it just breaks.
Yeah,
It's like, no, we're doing 10 episodes. We're doing seasons,
Yeah.
even though anime does not do seasons. They just do more like hiatuses.
yeah,
And we're doing like we're gonna be on for we're gonna do year, and then we're gonna go on break for 5
Yeah.
years, and then we're gonna come back and do year, 2 year, 3 year.
yeah. Also, this one season, by the way, it's only gonna have like 8 episodes.
Yeah, and then
Nothing
the
else
next
will-
one will have like 12,
Yeah,
and then the next one will have like 20,
yeah.
and then the final season will be 3 parts.
They definitely have. I don't know if they have the freedom to do this or if it's just a part of the business negotiations, but they definitely feels like get away a lot more with like internal creative decisions in terms of this is
Yeah.
the show I want to make. Do my vision, and it seems like the Japanese networks are almost always willing to oblige, for the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part.
All right, last question before we
Last
go.
question before we go.
Top 5 themes, intros.
Intros. Oh, that's a good one.
There's a lot of good intros.
SpongeBob is up there at the top. Gotta give it to him.
Jeez.
That's a good one. That's a trend that I hate that has died out. Theme
Yeah.
songs, for sure.
Breaking Bad killed the modern intro.
Animated shows used to have theme songs. I mean, Adventure Time,
Yeah.
that's a good one, But it's like so many ones are just title card. That's your intro. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I'll give it that one.
Well, Breaking Bad was like, let's do a guitar riff, and that's it.
Yeah. So I would say SpongeBob, classic. Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's a good one. If I can do an ending theme, then Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's a good one.
Okay.
Game of Thrones.
Iconic.
Iconic for sure. And then I was thinking of this one today. It was stuck in my head. CSI. Or no, Law and Order. Law and Order. Bun dun 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 dun. That one. Law and Order's theme song. That was stuck in my head earlier today. So I gotta go with that one.
I'm going Sopranos, going Mad Men, going Succession. I love a good piano. I'm going.
You can include animated shows
Yeah, I'm
or
thinking-
anime too.
Thinking of animated.
Because anime does
The problem with
opening
anime
credits.
though is they change it up like every 3
I appreciate that. I
episodes.
really appreciate the fact that every
Um,
season they have a different opening theme.
I will say season 2. Is it season? Yeah, of Attack on Titan is pretty good.
That's
I don't
a
know
good
if
one.
I'd put it in my top 5. It's
Ah,
definitely pretty good.
I'd see.
Actually, no, yeah. You know what? Yeah, I'll put it in my
I would put Cowboy Bebop in my top 5, absolutely, if I can include
Let's
that.
jam.
Tank, let's jam. That's such a good song. So you're basically at 4.
I'm gonna put Breaking Bad. No, I'm just kidding. Decent intro. It's not.
It's not a theme.
It's not
It's not a
great.
theme. Walking Dead.
The thing about Walking Dead's intro is they always like those first couple seasons, those first few seasons, they always hit it at the right time.
Yeah.
Always. Like, and I think that's the mark of a good intro. Is it's just like, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Succession does this wonderfully, where it's like we got the cold open, we're getting it, and then it's like, okay, now we know what this episode's gonna be about, and cue, and it's like
Yeah.
perfect because it's like, well, damn, now I gotta watch the whole episode. So Walking Dead did it pretty good.
Yeah.
The first couple.
So we call a hook, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
yeah. Screenwriting 101. We got to do that screenwriting podcast.
What about The Office?
I omit it on principle because I don't like The Office.
Fair enough. You can also repeat any of mine. Don't feel bad.
I don't like The Office. Season 3 of The Office is good, but other than that, don't get out of my face. Twilight Zone,
Ooh, that's a good classic one.
even though it's just like
It's just
you are entering the Twilight Zone. No.
yeah, yeah.
Still gets you in the mood.
Oh yeah, yeah. Shout out the polytonality.
Yeah. I would put Twilight Zone. Yeah.
Not bad.
All right, that's my 5. Cool.
There you
Any
go.
last remarks? This is a good podcast.
Yeah. If you're interested in watching One Piece, You have to binge through like the first maybe 30 episodes. Then it really starts getting good. Skip the filler. Look up a list of filler.
Oh yeah, that's another
Skip
thing
the filler. You
about
can.
TV that's really hard is you have to watch those first. Like everybody's thing is, it's the one thing that everybody says about TV shows.
It gets good. You just have to get through the first 5 seasons of it.
And I think that's just the way TV is, though.
Yeah.
I mean, even like, Friends is rough the first couple seasons. Every show. I mean, first couple episodes. Sorry.
I mean, One Piece is different because they take 30 episodes to introduce every character.
Unless it's like Attack on Titan, where it's like, yo, forget who you think you know, forget the names.
Yeah.
We're killing people.
Yeah.
The mom is dying. Episode 1. It's like, whoa.
Even a show like Cowboy Bebop, which is revered as like the greatest anime of all time, people are like, oh, don't start with episodes 1 or 2. Just skip to episode 5 and then go back to 1 and 2. And I'm like, okay. Greatest show of all time? Really?
Yeah, that's silly.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's what I would say. If you want to start with One Piece, The Water 7 is one of the most fantastic story arcs of all time. Marineford, absolutely great. I'd recommend it if you want to sit through that. Outside of that, wouldn't watch post that time skip. That was it, in my opinion.
Oh, Reddit's not going to like this one.
Don't care.
That's how you know something's good, because James doesn't like what Reddit likes.
Yeah.
We don't like Nope. Reddit loves Nope.
Yep.
We don't like, or you don't like pre-time skip. Reddit loves pre-time skip.
What can you do? What can you do? I mean, I would argue post time skip. I would say Naruto Shippuden is way better than the original Naruto, in my opinion.
I don't know.
That's a discussion.
You're losing me.
Total
now.
discussion for another time.
You're
though.
losing me now.
So probably lost most Naruto fans. Listening.
I mean, post-time skip, we're talking about bad ones. Death Note.
Death Note. Yeah.
When it skips like 6 months.
We got the sick intro music, but we didn't get a good season.
We didn't get a good ending.
No.
That's for sure.
Way better than the manga. Anyway.
All right,
That's
we're
all
out
I
of
have
here.
to say.
Thanks for tuning into this semi-structured. We started off a little rough, but we got there, and then we kind of lost it again.
Woo woo.
But
Including our camera.
That's the hit play way. Yeah, I don't know what's up with my batteries. Guess I gotta get them. Buy new batteries. We're out of here. We'll see you guys next week, hopefully. Until then, have a good day, weekend, night. Whatever.